Well, good morning. Welcome to daily quarantine videos with Pastor Michelle. I feel like having some issues this morning. Have you ever woken up and your eyelids were kind of swollen? I have no idea why if you can kind of tell, I have an issue with my eyes this morning. They're not itchy. They're not bothering me except for the fact that they're swollen. So it's a little bit annoying. But how's everyone else's Sunday doing? This morning I went to Panera and picked up, they're doing curbside pickup. And actually this was my first time at Panera since the shutdown. So, since all this happened. So it tastes very good. It's a really good latte. But for any of you who have ever, going back to that, because I just see my eyelids and it's bothering me. But if any of you have ever had an issue where you woke up with your eyelids or kind of swollen, let me know. If there's a quick cure, I would love to hear it. So anyway, that's just me. I get obsessed with things very easily. So here's some reflection for this morning. I know mountains because I have stood on precipices and breathed. I know prairie because I have lain on my back and been absorbed by the sky. I know the ocean because I have immersed myself in it and felt the pull of its current. If I want to know life, I need to experience its wonder and breathe in it every breath. If I want to know possibility, I need to see its immensity and allow it to absorb me. If I want to know faith, I need to surrender to it and feel it pulling me in its unseen direction. When I was a kid, I dreamed of traveling the world. I called it going to sea. My adoptive parents laughed, assuming that I was misspelling a common word. I wasn't. The idea of the wide world filled me with wonder, and I wanted to see I'm still like that. The world beckons me beyond wherever I am, and I want to see the intricate and the expansive, the gamut of emotions on people's faces, the secret life of animals, acts of love, the regal quiet of old people, children laughing, the acts of wonder that arise from Creator's hand and everything. And I love that. I need to experience, if I want to know life, I need to experience this wonder and breathe it in with every breath. Every breath. And I love that. And breath is a common theme today because today is Pentecost Sunday. It's the day when the Spirit breathed on Jesus's people. And so, and then Jesus' followers were able to go out into the world and continue what Jesus started. So today is Pentecost, so that is why I'm in red. I didn't really have any good fancy shirts that were red, so I'm going with the UCC shirt. So I'm going to be wearing a robe anyway. So anyway, let's start with the Lord's Prayer. And I wanted to share with you a Lord's Prayer that was rendered by, I found online, or I found in a book yesterday that I was reading. And it's rendered by Friendship Presbyterian Church. And so, here we go. I wanted to read this Lord's Prayer. All right, let me see if I can get it. All right, well, okay. So here's this Lord's Prayer. I love it. Our mothering, guiding moral force, gracious and loving Creator, who is our strength and shield and promises never to leave or forsake us, who enfolds us and is all around us, in heaven and in earth, blessed and cherished, divine and wondrous and powerful are you. May your purpose and everlasting presence, your dream and vision of a world of peace come to be. May your hope for us be realized on earth as it is in heaven. Give each one of us enough to sustain all of us. In our imperfections, we ask for forgiveness for ourselves and from one another. Save us from ourselves, from the bondages of selfishness, from the distraction of prideful pursuits. Help us to find the best of our human selves and to love that which others reject. For all that you have created, the beauty and the grace and the glory is yours forever. Amen. So let's take a deep breath and let it all out. And take a sip of a caramel iced latte. That's just me. So I do hope everyone is doing okay. Let's continue on with Hunger Games. And so we will probably just read a few pages, and then we'll finish up this chapter, or maybe. It's a longer chapter. We'll probably take a couple days to do this chapter. My slumbers are filled with disturbing dreams. The face of the red-headed girl intertwines with gory images from earlier Hunger Games, with my mother withdrawn and unreachable, with Prim emaciated and terrified. I bolt up, screaming for my father to run as the mine explodes into a million deadly bits of light. Dawn is breaking through the windows. The Capitol has a misty, haunted air. My head aches, and I must have bitten into the side of my cheek in the night. My tongue probes the ragged flesh, and I taste blood. Slowly, I drag myself out of bed and into the shower. I arbitrarily punch buttons on the control board and end up hopping from one foot to another as alternating jets of icy cold and steaming hot water assault me. Then I'm deluged in lemony foam that I have to scrape off with a heavy bristle brush. Oh well, at least my blood is flowing. When I'm dried and moisturized with lotion, I find an outfit has been left for me at the front of the closet. Tight black pants, a long-sleeved burgundy tunic, and leather shoes. I put my hair in the single braid down my back. This is the first time since the morning of the reaping that I resemble myself. No fancy hair and clothes, no flaming capes, just me, looking like I could be headed for the woods. It calms me. Hey Mitch didn't give us an exact time to meet for breakfast, and no one has contacted me this morning. But I'm hungry, so I head down to the dining room hoping there will be food. I'm not disappointed. While the table is empty, a long board off to the side has been laid with at least 20 dishes. A young man in Avox stands at attention by the spread. When I ask if I can serve myself, he nods assent. I load a plate with eggs, sausages, batter cakes covered in thick orange preserves, slices of pale purple melon. As I gorge myself, I watch the sun rise over the Capitol. I have a second plate of hot grains smothered in beef stew. Finally, I fill a plate with rolls and sit at the table, breaking off bits and dipping them into hot chocolate, the way Peta did on the train. My mind wanders to my mother and Prem. They must be up. My mother getting their breakfast of mush. Prem milking her goat before school just 2 mornings ago. I was home. Can that be right? Yes, just 2, and now how empty the house feels, even from a distance. What did they say last night about my fiery debut at the games? Did it give them hope or simply add to their terror? And when they saw the reality of 24 tributes circled together, knowing only one would live. Hey Mitch and Peta come in and bid me good morning, fill their plates. It makes me irritated that Peta is wearing exactly the same outfit I am. I need to say something to Chena. This twins act is going to blow up in our faces once the games begin. Surely they must know this. Then I remember Hey Mitch telling me to do exactly what the stylists tell me to do. If it was anyone but Cena, I might be tempted to ignore him, but after last night's triumph, I don't have a lot of room to criticize his choices. I'm nervous about the training. There will be 3 days in which all the tributes practice together. On the last afternoon, we'll each get a chance to perform in private before the game makers. The thought of meeting the other tributes face to face makes me queasy. I turn the roll I have just taken from the basket over and over in my hands, but my appetite is gone. When Hey Mitch has finished several platters of stew, he pushes back his plate with a sigh. He takes the flask from his pocket and takes a long pull on it and leans his elbows on the table. So, let's get down to business. Training. First off, if you like, I'll coach you separately. Decide now. Why would you coach us separately, I ask. So, if you had a secret skill you might not want the other to know about. I exchange a look with Peta. I don't have any secret skills, he says, and I already know what yours is, right? I mean, I've eaten enough of your squirrels. I never thought about Peta eating the squirrels I shot. Somehow I always picture the baker quietly going off and frying them up for himself. Not out of greed, but because town families usually eat expensive butcher meat, beef and chicken and horse. You can coach us together, I tell Hey Mitch. Peta nods. All right, so give me some idea of what you can do, Hey Mitch says. I can't do anything, says Peta, unless you count baking bread. Sorry, I don't, Katniss. I don't. Katniss, I already know you're handy with a knife, says Hey Mitch. Not really, but I can hunt with a bow and arrow. And you're good? I have to think about it. I've been putting food on the table for 4 years. That's no small task. I'm not as good as my father was, but he had more practice. I've better aim than Gale, but I've had more practice. He's a genius with traps and snares. I'm all right, I say. She's excellent, said Peta. My father buys her squirrels. He always comments on how the arrows never pierce the body. She hits everyone in the eye. It's the same with the rabbits she sells the butcher. She can even bring down deer. This assessment on my skills from Peta takes me totally by surprise. First, that he ever noticed. Second, that he's talking me up. What are you doing? I ask him suspiciously. What are you doing? If he's going to help you, he has to know what you're capable of. Don't underrate yourself, says Peta. I don't know why, but this rubs me the wrong way. What about you? I've seen you in the market. You can lift 100-pound bags of flour. I snap at him. Tell him that. That's not nothing. Yes, I'm sure the arena will be full of bags of flour for me to chuck at people. It's not like being able to use a weapon. You know it isn't. He can wrestle, I tell Haymitch. He came in second in our school competition last year, only after his brother. What use is that? How many times have you seen someone wrestle someone to death, says PETA. There's always hand-to-hand combat. All you need to do is come up with a knife and you'll at least stand a chance. If I get jumped, I'm dead. I can hear my voice rising in anger. But you won't. You'll be living up in some tree, eating raw squirrels and picking off people with arrows. You know what my mother said to me when she came to say goodbye, as if to cheer me up. She says maybe District 12 will finally have a winner. Then I realized she didn't mean me. She meant you, bursts out PETA. Oh, she meant you, I say with a wave of dismissal. She said she's a survivor, that one. She is, says PETA. That pulls me up short. Did his mother really say that about me? Does she rate me over her own son? I see the pain in PETA's eyes, and I know he isn't lying. Suddenly, I'm behind the bakery, and I can feel the chill of the rain running down my back, the hollowness in my belly. I sound 11 years old when I speak, but only because someone helped me. PETA's eyes flicker down to the roll in my hands, and I know he remembers that day too, but he was just shrugs. People will help you in the arena. They'll be tripping over each other to sponsor you. No more than you. PETA rolls his eyes at Haymitch. She has no idea the effect she can have. He runs his fingernail along the wood grain in the table, refusing to look at me. What on earth does he mean? People help me? When we were dying of starvation, no one helped me. No one except PETA. Once I had something to barter with, things changed. I'm a tongue trader. That's right. She's a tongue trader. I'm a tough trader. Or am I? What effect do I have? That I'm weak and needy? Or is he suggesting that I got good deals because people pity me? I try to think if this is true. Perhaps some of the merchants were a little generous in their trades, but I always attributed that to their long-standing relationship with my dad. Besides, my game is first class. No one pitied me. I glower at the roll. Sure, he meant to insult me. After about a minute of this, Haymitch says, well, Katniss, there's no guarantee there'll be bows and arrows in the arena, but during your private session with the game makers, show them what you can do. Until then, stay clear of archery. Are you any good at trapping? I know a few basic snares. That may be significant in terms of food, says Haymitch. And PETA, she's right. Never underestimate strength in the arena. Very often, physical power tilts the advantage to a player. In the training center, they will have weights, but don't reveal how much you can lift in front of the other tributes. The plan's the same for both of you. You go to group training, spend the time trying to learn something you don't know, throw a spear, swing a mace, learn to tie a decent knot, save showing what you're best at until your private sessions. Are you clear? PETA and I nod. One last thing. In public, I want you by each other's side every minute. We both start to object, but Haymitch slams his hand on the table. Every minute. It's not open for discussion. You agreed to do as I said. You will be together. You will appear amiable to each other. Now get out. Meet Effie at the elevator at 10 for training. I bite my lip and stalk back to my room, making sure PETA can hear the door slam. I sit on the bed, hating Haymitch and hating PETA, hating myself for mentioning that day long ago in the rain. It's such a joke. PETA and I are going along, pretending to be friends, talking up each other's strengths, insisting the other takes credit for their abilities, because in fact, at some point, we're going to have to knock it off and accept we're bitter adversaries, which I'd be prepared to do right now if it wasn't for Haymitch's stupid instruction that we stick together in training. It's my own fault, I guess, for telling him. He didn't have to coach us separately, but that didn't mean I wanted to do everything with PETA, who, by the way, clearly doesn't want to be partnering up with me either. I hear PETA's voice in my head. She has no idea the effect she can have, obviously meant to demean me, right? But a tiny part of me wonders if this was just a compliment, that he meant I was appealing in some way. It's weird how much he's noticed me, like the attention he's paid on my hunting, and apparently I have not been as oblivious to him as I imagined either. The flour, the wrestling, I have kept track of the boy with the bread. It's almost 10, so I clean my teeth and smooth back my hair again. Anger temporarily blocked out my nervousness about meeting the other tributes, but now I can feel my anxiety rising again. By the time I meet Effie and PETA at the elevator, I catch myself biting my nails. I stop at once. The actual training rooms are below ground level of our building. With these elevators, the ride is less than a minute. The doors open into an enormous gymnasium filled with various weapons and obstacle courses. Although it's not yet 10, we're the last ones to arrive. The other tributes are gathered in a tense circle. They each have a cloth square with their district number on it pinned to their shirts, while someone pins the number 12 on my back. I do a quick assessment. PETA and I are the only two dressed alike. As soon as we join the circle, the head trainer, a tall, athletic woman named Atella, steps up and begins to explain the training schedule. Experts in each skill will remain at their stations. We will be free to travel from area to area as we choose, per our mentor's instructions. Some of the stations teach survival skills, others fighting techniques. We are forbidden to engage in any combative exercise with another tribute. There are assistants on hand if we want to practice with a partner. And so, I read a little bit more than I thought I would, so we will probably finish this chapter tomorrow. But I do hope all of you have a wonderful day. If you identify as a Christian, then you will know that today is a special day. It's the birth of the Christian church. It is Pentecost Sunday. So I look forward to seeing all the red that people will be wearing from my church when they check in today. So God bless you all.